Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the greatest recordings ever. And today, oh boy, today we're going to talk about Brahms' Second Symphony. Now, the Second Symphony, as some of you may know, is his most popular symphony. It's the one that's been recorded 30 billion, trillion, zillion times. Well, they all have. I mean, at this point, of course. And, the first is up there as well. But, in Brahms' lifetime, the first was not very popular. It was considered a rather difficult and kind of obstreperous work. And even Clara Schumann, when she heard the first movement, said, "Oh, holy cow, Brahms, that's just ugly. Ugh, yuck, ick, poo," So the first was out there. But the second, everybody loved it. And Brahms, of course, who was typically self-deprecating and elusive, and in his description of his own music, said that it was actually a very dark work, that he wanted it printed with a black border because it was so depressing and all that. And of course, everybody now considers it to be just luminous and joyous and wonderful and limpid and pellucid and, all of those, transparent adjectives. Anyway, Brahms had a point, though, because it does have its dark bits. There's the development section of the first movement, which contains some of the most dissonant music he ever wrote, and violent, too, especially when the trombones come roaring in. And then there's that slow movement with that wonderful, basically all of Elgar's noble mente mood is in this slow movement. It's really kind of remarkable. It's harmonically ambiguous, but somehow one of those, enduring things through tears, that kind of feeling, that sort of noble suffering. It's a very, very extraordinary thing emotionally. Of course, the intermezzo third movement type thing is just delicious, and the finale is ha 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 ha. It's a gloss on a bit of the finale of Haydn's London Symphony, his Symphony number 104. Which is kind of interesting. That whirlwind in the Haydn 104. Well, Brahms does that. It's kind of interesting. So, the end is one of the most high-spirited things Brahms ever did as well. So it's emotionally ambivalent. That's one thing you could say about it. Most of the time, it's played with the darker aspects somewhat played down, or in the context of the whole, they don't dominate. But there is a performance. Of course, there's a performance. No, there's a great performance that really digs into that emotional ambivalence, the ambivalocity, if you want to call it that. It's ambivalicious. And that recording is Carlo Maria Giulini with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. It's a performance, in LA, he did Brahms 1 and 2. And then, of course, he went to Vienna and redid them all. So, what was the point? But the fact is, the Brahms 1 and 2 from LA are markedly superior to his recordings in Vienna. And they're quite different. Really quite different. One of the ways they're quite different is that he takes the repeats, which he did not do in Vienna, probably because the Viennese had not taken a repeat since 1860-something, and they wouldn't have known what to do. Go back, I don't know. But the bottom line is that the Los Angeles recording is extraordinary, especially the Brahms second. The first is great, too. They're both amazing, absolutely amazing. But the second is perhaps the more remarkable because, slow, granitic, huge versions of the first symphony we're kind of used to. But slow, granitic, huge versions of the second symphony we are not used to. That's not typical for the piece, not at all. But that's what you get here. It is also gorgeously played and recorded. Much better played in some respects than the Vienna Philharmonic one, and the sonics are superior. And it's really just amazing. And what you hear in this performance, which is solemn and it's not all darkness and whatever, but you might say that those elements are held in a state of equipoise, unlike just about any other performance out there. I mean, that's what makes it an extraordinary, exploratory, probing performance of the Second Symphony. And in the finale, which you might think is sort of like, because it's a little slower than usual, it doesn't take off the way others do. It doesn't rise to giddy heights in the speed department, but it has the same elements. And the way Giulini does it is through balance. Balance. I mean, when the final tune comes blasting in on the brass, the strings are getting higher and higher and higher. They're going, you actually hear them in this performance. It's really extraordinary, and you hear them really playing at that really high pitch to balance out the brass, and it's really kind of amazing. It's an absolutely amazing sound. I don't think I've ever heard Brahms's orchestration, which is always an iffy thing in Brahms, as you know. I mean, glow the way it does in this performance. This is in the box, Giulini in America, which is like, stupid concept. And there were two of them. There's the Chicago one and the LA one. This is the LA one. And it's really something special. I have to say, an amazing Brahms second, and thoughtful and intelligent, and it works. And there's nothing else like it in the Brahms second discography. There really isn't. And that, my friends, is what makes this one of the greatest performances ever. So keep on listening, friends, and thanks for joining me. Take care.